And we can begin at this January meeting by taking a look at the November minutes, which we have to approve because we didn't have a meeting in December. So if I have a motion to accept them or any discussion.
Santos is coming in now, by the way.
Okay, well, we can let Brad come in.
I have one edit. It was probably, it might have been correct when I spoke of the turkey trot, but the sponsorship total was listed as 16,275. We did get our check from Lincoln Machine, and our sponsorship total is actually 16,225, not 275.
Oh,
Well, was the amount that was posted in the minutes correct at the time?
I don't recall if it was or not.
Yeah. It's thanks for the update. It's not like Robert's rules, we're not going to get arrested.
yeah, and if it changed after the fact, there's no real need to change the minutes if that
Right.
reflects
So-
what was actual at the time.
I think we should just accept the minutes. We've had a lot of activity, including as a commission between then and now, but I didn't see anything wrong with them when they came out.
Yeah, that's all I saw. So I would second Charlie's motion to accept.
No, hey.
No.
We have to hear from Joanne.
Gotta have
I've been trying
Joanne.
to get in. Gee whiz, nobody lets me talk. I needed to make an edit.
Okay.
There's a typo, and
Okay, go.
unfortunately, it's on number 6.
Okay.
Number 2, my name is misspelled.
Oh,
Oh.
I know
geez.
it's mine.
I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Oh,
Sorry. So,
I'm sorry.
I
I
just have to
missed
think
that too.
for the first 30 years of my life, I didn't care, but the older I get, the more I care. Please spell my name right. It's
Sure,
a capital
I'll
A.
get it. I apologize, Joanne.
No worries, because it's right on the screen. So sometimes it's just misspelled. But anyhow, that's my edit.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lynn.
Hey, anything else in your perusals, Joe? You okay?
I will amend my motion as edited.
Okay.
I approve it.
Do we have
Okay.
any more discussion on that? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we're good for the minutes. Next up. Joe, the budget report.
Budget. We have a new format. It looks like, and it's much easier to read. I might add too.
Yeah.
Much easier to decipher through it. But at the moment, we have $23,224.36.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a new format or if it just abbreviated, but yeah, what's there is easier to read, yeah.
Definitely a new format. It's like it's not in the 80s anymore.
Yeah.
That's interesting. It brings up an interesting thought that appears we have efficiencies now at the town hall between the finance and the Board of Education finance that we didn't have a couple of years ago. Better reporting, better accounting, and that's one of those things that when we get it right, we should try to find some way to acknowledge it so that
Yeah,
the town know that we got it right.
yeah, you're right.
I mean, we don't get the whole credit for it. We don't get the whole blame for it, but we've been pushing people to do these things.
Yeah.
And they're doing them, and it works.
Mr. Chairman, speaking of your budget report, remember you have to amend your agenda.
Yeah, what I was mentioning to Lynn before is I had on the agenda a second new business item, which was discussing the 2024 to 2025 budget. And when I sent her the copy, it wasn't on it, so apparently I sent her the wrong one. So I'd like to amend our agenda and put a number 2 under new business for the 2024 to 2025 budget. Yeah,
Does
just,
that need a vote, or is it just that you're announcing that?
I believe technically the commission members do, that needs to be introduced as a motion, seconded and voted upon. To be
really,
perfectly correct. I believe it does.
okay, I haven't run into this before, so.
I'll make a
Well-
motion. that we-
Well, I'll make the motion that we add number 2 under new business, reading 2024 to 2025 budget. And somebody can second.
I'll second.
Charlie seconded. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Why not, right? Any opposed? Okay, so it's now added under new business number 2. And my apologies again, there is no end to my quality of work. Okay, anyway, for reports, I just wanted to update and just talk a little. We haven't met since the winter market and bonfire and tree festival on December 9th, so just wanted to say, if anybody, hasn't gotten any updates, it was a pretty good success. We had 16 vendors, I think, outside. We had people decorating all along the paths to lead people to the vendors and lead them to the bonfire. Dan was giving away hot chocolate on behalf of the Weekend Warriors. We had Max, one of his early outings of his new food truck down there at the bonfire. And the trees, even though it seemed late in planning, the tree auction went really well. So it's something that we will do again next year. And more of the stuff will be inside. Hopefully we'll have music inside. And the horse-drawn wagon was a big success too, until the driver got sick and had to go home. And we also had Santa Claus. So no, the whole thing, I think most of the people involved were pretty happy with the outcome. So yeah, I just wanted to, like I said, touch on that because we haven't talked about it. So be prepared for next year's Winter Festival. Moving on, update on businesses in Thompson. I sent you a list of 3 new adoption of trade names. That's Sweet Jane's, it's a thrift store. Harley Burlingame's MAP trainings, that's online medical instructions. And Pine Constructors, they do roofing and siding. And also, yeah.
Where's the Sweet Jane's going to be? Which address? Because there were 2 addresses. Is it on Chase Road? Or
No, the owner lives on Chase Road. Business is on 459 Thompson Road.
Oh, okay. Where the old Agway used to be, or Safeway, or
I don't even know. I meant to go by there and I haven't yet,
Yeah.
so I don't know which 459 is. It's
It's
got to be
right-
in that area.
it's right down the street from. It's almost adjacent. I'm sorry. It's right past Galwin Road.
Yeah, I
So,
can picture.
Galwin is- It's
If-
the big white building. I believe a long time ago it used to be Agway or something. So that's
Yeah.
where the business is going to go, in that building.
459, wherever that is.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Great.
And the other thing to mention, of course, is the destruction of Thompson Auto Care. That was, well, that's sad.
Isn't there going to be a fundraiser or something? I saw somewhere.
There's
There-
gonna be a dinner at Valley
Okay,
Springs.
Valley Spring, right? And the GoFundMe page is still active.
There is a GoFundMe
Yeah.
page, yes. I do want to say, talking with John right after it happened, he was all choked up. the support that was coming in. And if anybody has lost, I've lost things like that. I've had break-ins and lost all my tools when I was a mechanic. And the most important thing you can have at that time is a list of your tools for insurance purposes, because you can never, ever, ever remember what's in your toolboxes.
Yeah.
Well, so Brian Berthium from Snap-on reached out to him, offered to get him a list of everything that he had bought during the years Brian had the truck. And so did Mike Vandy, who lives in town and owns 5 Napa stores.
Yeah.
He's going to supply John with a list of everything that John has bought from him. That in conjunction with, everybody reaching out and the fundraising and stuff, he actually had to stop talking because he was choked up. So what people are doing is really appreciated. I told him the most important thing was that we if we had to, we replace his Business of the Year plaque that was in his office from the EDC. I'm kidding, but I told him that.
Oh.
He thinks that it got saved actually because it was on a hot sheet. He doesn't think it got burned. So
I
that's
just posted the GoFundMe page in case anyone didn't know about that.
we did.
Yeah.
Who posted it?
It's in the chat.
I just put it in the chat just in case anyone didn't know about it.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I know one of my daughters had mentioned it the day after the event. She was gonna start when I think somebody already did.
Oh, it went very quickly. It was up really fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I went by there that night. At first there was smoke coming out, and 10 minutes later it was one big flame. But anyway, that's just an awful thing for somebody who's been in business that long. It's you can't even describe it.
Right.
Does anybody know of any other new businesses that we haven't seen on paper? No.
The new brewery in the place across from St. Joseph's got their federal liquor license.
Oh, okay.
And now they are waiting on the state. And I believe the state actually needs a local signature, possibly from the CEO. But that'd be easy enough if she hasn't already gotten it. And then I think they'll be setting a date relatively soon for when that's opening. Dan,
Cool.
did Shelley mention anything to you recently?
No, she hasn't told me the date. I haven't asked either though, so.
Cool, that'll be one more. As far as TBA membership, we now are up to 85 businesses as of right after the last meeting. So as we talked about at the meeting, Dan's meeting last week, we're closing in on our 100. We're just going to be a few months late, maybe.
Yeah. That's all right. We came a long way this year.
Yeah.
I have a question that you said 85, that's current and active. It's not
Yes.
keeping the list current. Good. That's excellent.
Yeah,
I mean,
we
it was kind of good
77
anyway,
at-
but it's easy to have dead wood on a mailing list or a list. It's easy to get.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, we removed at the last meeting. I think I removed 3 businesses, added 2, and then we had one more at the meeting and one more right after the meeting. So yeah, we are actively maintaining that database. Yes.
Yeah, that's an accurate list of our members. We are coming up on the time where we got to get we do have quite a few people that haven't paid their dues yet for this year. So we're on top of getting that done. So we should be good.
And then when you've got that list of 85 members, if I go to your website, I can find out what any of them do for their profession.
Yes. Yep.
That's something that we should make sure is posted on our website. I was just looking at it, but I wasn't thinking of that.
Well, everything's linked. You can go to TBA
Good.
Businesses are linked through EDC.
Sometimes then it's a headline that we might want to put on it, you know. Did you know? You can get it done here.
Oh, which reminds me, Tira, do you know what happened with the sign in front of the town hall?
I'm guessing you drove by when it was blinkered out.
Yeah, I went to the post office around 4:30.
Yeah, it just does that sometimes, and if it happens while Marie's not in there to notice it or fix it, it doesn't get fixed until the next day. I actually have some vague idea that there might be something temperature related to that, because it does seem to happen on cold days, but that could be just me noticing a coincidence that is or is not real.
Okay. Yeah, it jogged my memory because of the business of the month being posted on the sign. I like to look at it and see how it came out. And Marie does a great job on that. So
Yeah, it was Flawless was up there
yeah.
for the last couple of days, whenever. But yeah, I noticed it as I left the office today, it was blinkered out again.
Okay. Old business, which actually I should have started with, has Joanne, Charlie, Brian Santos, Brian Lafredo, Dan Bennett, has everybody been sworn in and set for being EDC members?
Have,
I'm not.
Yep.
I have not yet. Got to go to the town hall.
Or is
Well,
that the one I did with you, or was that something else? It was a while ago, and I can't even remember now.
Neither can I for sure. I will put it on the top of my to-do list, and it will be before the minutes go out.
and somebody, I think Renee said that Tira could actually swear people in during our meeting. Is that true, Tira?
Theoretically, it is true. Yes, except I don't happen to have the text of the oath that they give in front of me. But yes, otherwise that would have been true. If she had mentioned it to me, I could have brought that.
Sarah, I didn't know you were a lawyer. An
I am
attorney.
a justice of
JP.
the peace.
Oh, that's why you could do, okay.
You're Jesuit?
Yeah. She's a Jesuit princess. Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's a new one, Jesuit princess. That'll have to be my Halloween costume this year.
There you go.
Well, they
From
didn't wear
communist-
all black robes.
Yeah,
Well,
from
the
communist witch to
time-
Jesuit princess.
Glad I could help. Okay, so Santos would have to refrain from voting. And Dan's an alternate now, and that's the other topic here. We have an open slot for Economic Development Commission alternate because Renee is
Yeah.
too many other things. And would prefer not to be an alternate for EDC. So if you know anybody, that slot is open. Next, new business, we have the Hosting Commercial Real Estate Group. That's coming up on February 6th, 9 a.m. Is it at the community center, Tira, as you had suggested?
Yes, I mean, it hasn't been inked in, but I talked to Alice and she's on vacation this week, so she can't ink that for me until she gets back, because that's outside the regular reserve system. But I mentioned it to her, that shouldn't be a problem. We'll either be in the room with the artwork or the room that faces the mill.
Okay, so and the only other thing we need as last year to appropriate some
Breakfast money.
breakfast money. Can't remember, we did what, a couple $100 last year? I don't
Yeah.
remember,
Yeah, that should be more than enough.
because it's
Wait,
our
Amanda.
turn, we're hosting, we're providing the snacks.
We get
So-
that from Max?
Last
we-
year I got them from Grace Gourmet, she's like an independent private chef.
Oh, that's
She
right.
She cooks for Kai's. Max is another option. I mean, whomever, somebody local, obviously, I'd like to keep it with.
Is
since we
Max's place for business all the time, or is it not a restaurant?
Max is a
Max
restaurant.
Restaurant.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought he was just a caterer.
He's
No,
been a
they're both.
restaurant for about gotta be going on 10 years.
Yeah, did he start off as a caterer and then open
Yes.
the restaurant? Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then he was open, condensed hours, just
Yes,
noon
that's-
time on Thursday, Friday kind of thing.
Brian, did you hear any more about, Pit Stop?
I was gonna
I
ask about
haven't
that.
heard, I still haven't seen them open.
Yeah.
That was another thing under, businesses. I haven't, the last thing I saw, it was posted somewhere that I read. We're back open with a new menu, but I never saw them open. So there's been no one, I would have stopped in to talk to somebody.
Last thing I remember is that somebody was gonna buy it and then they changed their mind, so they said, okay, we're gonna run it.
Yes, and then in the meantime, there was talk about the original owners wanting it back.
Oh.
So I don't know, again, there's really nobody to talk to. I would stop in if the place was open, but that's it.
So just point of order, we need a motion and a vote on the
On the food money,
breakfast
Make a
money,
motion
yes.
that we find preferably with a local baker and that we provide the breakfast,
yeah, just say an up to number, say up to $200.
$200.
Do we have okay. Joanne seconded, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, so we have our breakfast money.
And of course, I encourage any of you who are available to join the meeting that day. It is a very nice group. Just to let you know, we've been doing them later in the year. We've been doing them in May or even possibly as late as June the first time. The reason we are doing it earlier is because we had a request from Frank Jakes, who is the owner of the parcel behind Sonny's Market that had once been sort of batted around for a solar development. He is interested in building a commercial building for rent there, and he wants to essentially start shopping it around to local commercial realtors. So he wants to do a little presentation there. Santos, remind me because I forget, is that something that you guys already voted on or approved? Or did he just come in with concepts when we saw him last?
It was
I
just
feel like-
concepts. Yeah, it was just
That's-
concepts, but we supported his Mitch in there. Yep.
Yeah,
planning.
that's what I thought too, but I just wanted to be sure. So it hasn't been technically approved yet. But Daniel Blanchette is his civil engineer, so obviously any plan that gets submitted is going to be drawn up in conformance with the regulations. So I'm confident it will ultimately get approved. And in the meantime, Frank wants to start generating interest. So that is the reason we are doing it on that date. And like I said, I just encourage you all to attend if you can.
Where is it, Tara, again?
It's going to be at the library this time, in the community, one of the community rooms at the library.
Unless the brewery's open.
I don't think it'll be open that soon though, Charlie.
An optimist.
We were hoping for the brewery and we were hoping they could host a TBA mixer too, but they're behind
I have
schedule.
a question that's more for zoning, I think, but when Tara mentioned the solar farm, a couple of months ago, on behalf of Wetlands Commission, I went up and looked at the site up on the top of the hill, across from the library, and then up on the top of it, behind the shirt plant, the shirt
Yeah.
factory.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yep.
So one of the things that the engineer mentioned when we were walking through is that they would need to plant certain, vegetation through there. And they were thinking in terms of maintenance on it too. And we just finished that first meeting with permaculture. I don't know, could the zoning code request permaculture be planted around solar farms?
Not really.
Oh,
I mean,
just
we do have, actually some fairly, progressive, for lack of a better word, regulations around large scale solar development, mostly where it relates to designated open space, farmland or core forest. Essentially, for anything over a certain size, and off the top of my head, I can't remember what the size is. There's a 1-to-1 requirement of an open space set aside. That's pretty progressive. A lot of places, struggle with it because once the projects get approved, they can just, mow whatever down. But we did make a real attempt when we rewrote the zoning regulations to make solar viable while still acknowledging some of the problems that accompany it. So, and the plan that was approved, took that in mind, but it's only an acre of solar out of that entire, whatever it is, 50-acre parcel.
Yeah, the one up on the top of the hill isn't a very big parcel, but they're not required to give a conservation easement like a developer would. I mean, like a housing developer would, real estate developer.
They are required to set aside an equal amount of open space to whatever the size of the solar development is. So it's a 50-ish acre parcel. They've got an acre of solar, and he's therefore required to preserve a minimum of an acre of open space as an offset. But
Boy, that spot that I went to has some very nice walking trails up there. I was amazed. It's just nice. And it was like somebody's mowing them. I don't know who's got that property, who did that. But I don't know, conservation easement, things like that. Sure, if a guy comes in and he builds a solar farm and he makes a lot of money and doesn't cause a lot of problems and gives some benefit to the town, that's fine. But if he doesn't give any benefit to the town and just takes money off of the land, then that's not so good for the town, is it?
Well, there are there are varying perspectives on that, and which I'm not going to navigate here.
Okay.
I can tell you that the specific product that they discussed at that zoning meeting was a new one to me, and it was kind of interesting because it's they're not permanently affixed panels the way, with sunken concrete. They're like big wedges that are ballasted.
It's almost like this guy has like pylons that he's building, just like a barrel in the ground kind of a thing with concrete and enough to hold the thing up. So it's not a lot of disturbance, and it really isn't disturbance in the wetlands, but that's why it came in, because there are wetlands up near there.
Yep, the plan took all that into account.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you reminded me, and Tara, when you get to be my age, you're going to know you either better find an answer when you think of it, or you're going to forget about it.
Fair
Anybody
enough.
want to raise your hand?
Okay, we'll move on. New business number 2 is 2024 to 2025 budget.
So guys, I'm supposed to send in at least your preliminaries by Friday. I mean, I did my office. My office is super simple. So now is really the time when you've got to decide what your priorities are for next year that you want to spend money on. And then, of course, we go through the rigmarole of making the case. Now, I will say I don't have anything like top of mind, right? Because once we get to the RFP for the marketing campaign later, that's the thing we've been talking about for a year and a half. I don't think that we've had anything stacked up behind it. So blitz it now.
Yeah, and looking at the current budget, we still have $2,500 left in the train wreck special project.
Right, but that's for the well, and that is something else we can actually discuss. But that is intended for the bike repair station.
Yeah,
So that's just a product and it's being split with trails that can be ordered at any time between now and the end of the year or the end of the fiscal year.
but it's just, essentially, it's just a reminder of what we've talked about and already appropriated, just so we don't appropriate money for a bicycle repair station.
Right.
Right.
And the only reason that we didn't buy it earlier was because we didn't know where we would put it until we needed it.
Right,
So-
oh yeah, there's no problem with that. Like I said, I'm just
No,
bringing
I
it,
don't see a problem.
that money is left
Well,
still
what
here.
part of marketing that Tira says in marketing is when we're really gonna dial down in on this, but what is a project? What is the next thing that we can put on our to-do list?
Well, this,
I want to start, and maybe this is a group that can get some traction behind it, but I believe it's time that we start having a Council of the Arts or Arts Council for Thompson or something. And I think that it follows up that when we finally have an opportunity, when such a group would have an opportunity to talk to the developer at the French River Mill and say, we want an auditorium that has capacity for this so we can start to put on performances. I think that this is a really good market for medium to high end concert productions. We talked about it way back at the beginning of branding committees. We're perfectly located. And with the interstate, it's a whole lot easier to get audience people who would leave the Boston area in the evening, drive down here, have supper, have a concert, and then drive back up when there's no rush hour. But I hate to drive in and out of Boston for a concert because there's rush hour to go. We're in a good location and we have artists and we have people that appreciate the arts. So maybe that's one of the next things that we put on our to-do list.
well, it's just early since we actually haven't started anything with 929.
No, but we have to have if we're going to do it, we have to have a council for the arts in place before they're ready to sit down and start talking about rent opportunities. We don't have such a council in Thompson. So you can't build anything without that group to organize it. I'm not going to be the chair of it. I have a vision for what it could do, but somebody else in the town is better equipped to be the volunteer that pushes this along. Sooner or later, it will need staffing, but not today.
Or would that be an EDC function or separate entity?
It's economic development in the long run.
Or it could be something that EDC kicks off like we did the TBA.
It could be exactly. It could be exactly. But, you know, Tira said we didn't really have anything lined up after this. So, you know,
So
we're
from-
starting to make traction on Main Street. We're starting to make traction and things are starting to take on a life of their own. She's right. Now's the time we got to start thinking about, well, what is next?
Now, Joanne tried to say something too, right? Did you, Joe?
But
I think it was Tira.
No,
Joe.
it was me. I felt that we did start the TBA, and we did initiate it so many years back, but I think that's a great idea about the arts. We could just initiate it and just, you know, let it branch off to its own self, but
Yeah.
great idea, Charlie.
So it is a good idea on its merits. My question relative to the agenda item is, you know, we're talking about the budget. So how is that relative to the next fiscal year budget?
No,
In what amount? To do what exactly?
Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
question.
I don't think it is.
We're
I don't
certainly
think it
going to
should be-
need more information, especially if we're going to be able to go to this person and say, you know, we believe this can happen. So
Yeah, because, well, you remember when we kicked off TBA, we didn't really budget anything. We kicked it off with
No.
an exploratory meeting. to see if there was interest. We had invited people over to Valley Springs. And actually, we would have bought food, and I don't even think we bought food because Mary Ann baked and brought food.
Yeah, I can't compete with Marianne in that way.
But yeah, for right now, it doesn't I don't think it has to be a budget item. We can start discussing it and maybe formulate some kind
Yeah.
of.
But if there is any monies that are needed, they could be in discretionary funds. I don't know exactly what that number is right now.
So here's how your line items have worked the last couple years. We've had some mixed messages when we've brought this back. The first year that we worked on the EDC budget together in whatever that was, January and February of 20, which is my first year in the budget cycle with you guys, we were very specific. We said we want $5,000 for this and $10,000 for this and blah, and we were very, very granular and detailed. And the feedback we got was that they wanted to lump it back all in together. So the next year I did that, and I got feedback that they wanted to know more specifically what we wanted to do with the funds.
Right.
So my inclination is to be as specific as possible, maybe without getting right down into the, specific as possible, meaning assigning it to a given project, not necessarily with saying exactly what activities in that project it's funding. For example, the $2,500 for the bike repair station, we all know it's for the bike repair station, but the line item it's given to is activities for Trainwreck Park. So theoretically, the commission could change their mind about that $2,500 for something else involved with Trainwreck Park if it were more urgent, and there wouldn't be a big deal about changing that. So specific in terms of project without necessarily being specific down to the detail level of what within the project you're funding. And like I say, we haven't gone any further in discussion with expenditures because we've been sitting on the money for the marketing campaign through the first half of the fiscal year because we had so much going on. There were some meetings canceled because of elections. We had the launch of 65 Main. It just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. Now we really have to take that seriously, and we'll talk about that project later. But I don't think there's a repeat of that project or an analog to that project in the next year that we've been discussing.
Right.
Now, some general things that I could say is the Agriculture Commission has consistently said they are interested in pursuing some marketing opportunities, some of which probably would involve me helping them with grants. They're interested in it. If it's going to happen, and they don't have a fund of their own, right? So it would be funded through them coming to this commission and asking, which this commission has funded stuff for them in the past. I don't think that's a big deal. There are a couple of grant opportunities I am aware of. They go up to about a $10,000 maximum award with a 1-to-1 match. There's one through Farm Credit East. There's the ERTD grants. There was another one that I had seen somewhere and I forget what it was. So that's a possibility. To me, the best use of that fund without having a specific project has always been to say, we'd like to have this as a pool of matching funds for grants. But when we've suggested that, it's been shot down in the past, particularly by one Board of Finance member. Now, I will say there's a new Board of Finance in town, and I think they are probably more receptive to that concept But you guys know as well as I do, when push comes to shove, if budget items start to get chopped, anything that's loosey-goosey like that is gonna be one of the first things to get reduced.
Yeah.
Even if they approve it in the initial. So these are my thoughts, but you guys tell me what you want to do. You know, you don't want to spend all night talking about it because you've got a big agenda tonight, but it is an important item and I've got to send something to the finance director before the end of day on Friday.
Just keep it the same? Can we submit the same, amount as we did last year?
You can submit the same amount. I'm not even all that worried about the amount. It's what's it for? I've got to go in and tell them what it's for. And if I can't tell them what it's for, they're going to say, what do you need it for then?
We have tonight to do this and plus all these other things on the agenda? We don't have time to do that. Do we?
I think we're just starting the process. I think we're just starting the process of reviewing the budget, but if I understand what Tara's saying, what is it that we want to do that's going to cost money so that we could say, okay, maybe it's not on the line item of the budget as our vision for the year, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 different projects in it. What are those projects? How much money do we need? Even if we go back for the same amount, we don't need that $2,500 for the bike repair station in next year's budget. It's already encumbered. It's just a matter of when we buy it. And so, but I understand that we were able to move that around within the budget of the train wreck park activities, and that's fine. That seems the best way for us to go. But if I understood what Tara's saying, and she'll tell me if I'm wrong, I'm sure she will. But if I understood what she was saying, she wants us to really be focused on what are the items that we want to do or begin in our next fiscal year that will require money and about how much money. So if we say, well, we need $10,000 to accomplish our mission, and it's going to be 2,500 for this and 2,500 for that, 2,500 for this, and then she can go in front of the Board of Finance and say, this is what they want to do, and it makes sense because we will have sold her on it. Is that right, Tara?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me. What do I want to
That
say?
takes a long time, and
Well,
Tara's going to go.
It depends if you have any ideas. I mean, we're talking about the marketing program, but we already have money in the current budget.
Mhm.
Something like that, if we had to do another marketing campaign, we would appropriate some money. We already have money for printing and publication, which is a good thing to have every year because it has helped. We've used it, the Ag Commission has used it, but we still have a lot of that left from the current budget.
Well, and in fact, I believe that $5,000, which is now a little lower because we took some money out of it for something else, a small amount.
Yeah.
That money was money that we put aside for the Agriculture Commission to use
Right.
as match funds for. Now, they have not come up with anything. However, because it's just in printing and publications, if you wanted more Z maps, if you wanted to, or it could roll back into the general at the end of the year. The problem with rolling it back into the general is it makes it harder to justify asking for it in the following year. Santos has his hand up.
Yeah, can I just, obviously, I think we can probably talk about this for the next 2 hours. Not like I need another meeting, but I think there's a thought process that has to go into this by all of us and strategies and probably a sole special meeting to go over this over, let's just say the next month or two before we need to really formally submit our budget. But what is everybody thinking about having a special meeting solely to talk about this, but come to that meeting prepared with ideas?
Well, except Tara has to turn something on Friday.
But Terry, you said we have to come up with this by Friday. Today's
I need,
Wednesday.
I need to give him something by Friday. So that's why I'm saying I don't need it to be super detailed right now.
But still, that's not a time for a group to come up with something. How come we never talked about this before? I don't remember ever being under pressure last year or the year before to come up with something in 5 minutes.
Because we canceled some meetings at times when it would have been more practical to talk about it.
Oh,
Yeah, it would have come up in December, but we didn't have a December meeting.
well, is there something we could scratch off of the agenda tonight that we can talk about this now, or no? I mean,
Probably,
you're right,
let's-
Brian. It took 2 hours to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we can skip under progress reports. One, two,
There's
we
nothing,
we can skip everything except number 5, really.
right,
Exactly, and that's going to take a lot of our time
Well,
tonight
number
too.
four needs a little bit of talk.
Well, let's go.
I understand Joanne's concern. I think I have it too, but what if we just think between now and Friday, what is it that we, as individuals, our bid, if I say I want to do this and you say you want to do that, and Brian Santos and Brian, everybody's come up with something. Well, what makes the most sense? But at least Tara could look at the list and start to think, well, this is what the EDC commissioners want. So it's going to be 2 or 3 of these things. I got the impression she was looking for us to come up with something that would roughly equal the dollar amount that we put into our input into the train wreck park stuff. So what was that? $2,500? That was more than $2,500.
No,
Now
I
we're
was just
talking
using that as an
about-
example, Charlie.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we need to have a meeting for this then. It's already 7:17, and we haven't
All right,
even
all
touched on agenda items, so.
Yeah,
we
I
have to
can't
figure out
get
what-
I can't get focused on this either, but I like the idea. So let's.
I
look at
mean,
it.
your other option is to let me wing it.
Yes.
Which, you know,
Do your thing. Tell them that we want what we had last year, and we'll figure it out from there. I mean, it's not like we're asking for 50 grand or we're asking for 5,000. We want to do it about the same, and we'll figure it out and we'll fine tune it next month. But
well,
we can't do that tonight. At
what we
such
did
short notice.
last year, I went in and Tara and I sat down for a talk and came up with something, and we could do that again.
I'm fine with that. I have one meeting at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and then I'm otherwise open. And I think I'm wide open. Oh, no, and Friday I'm not in the office. Friday I'm all day at a conference, so it would have to be tomorrow.
Yeah, and I have an appointment in Worcester at 11. I'm free in the afternoon.
So if you want to come in the afternoon, we can talk about it. And then,
Okay,
you know, if nobody has anything burning a hole in their figurative pocket for this budget that they want to bring up right now, you can email those, anything that you pops into your head between now and tomorrow afternoon that Yacino and I can talk about.
You mind if I join you? And about what time? Notice I didn't really give you a chance to say no. If you don't want me there, I won't go. But I like the idea, and I think that we're onto something. Kind of like to help roll it along.
Well,
yeah, I'm
I
not
make
sure
a
what
motion
time
that we
it-
let Tara and Brian and Charlie figure it out tomorrow then.
I'm wide open. You can
We-
text me, Brian, when you're ready to go.
Okay,
Okay,
We're
thanks.
just stuck in this one item.
I'll send you guys an email too, just of my quick thoughts. I just was working on it in the background here.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's perfect, because I actually work very effectively out of email. And reading words and making sense of them that way. That's actually my most effective way of getting stuff done, so.
yeah, I don't work well in virtual settings. But yeah, all right, so we'll do that. We'll talk tomorrow.
I will await you in my
Okay.
freezing cold office.
Oh. All right, yeah, I'll let you know. I'll be in Worcester for a little while. I have an appointment at 11. And then I'm free for the afternoon.
Bring me some hot hands. I'll put them in my back pocket. I'll feel all better.
Okay.
Touch that.
All right, so we'll move on to progress reports. And yeah, the main thing is gonna be really number 5. So grant applications and updates is number 1 for Tira.
Yeah, just very briefly, the big one that's out floating in the world is the CIF grant. That was submitted on time for the 15th. That's the 3.88 million. The notification on that is due around the end of March. So there's nothing really to report on there than that we are waiting. And I'm pretty sure that that's the only thing I have out there right now. I am not actively working on any new grants until I know what's going on there. Oh, and then of course the pair of train wreck park grants. So the Butlers, as you know, approved the sale of their half acre for the turntable site to the town. The town had the town meeting in December. That was overwhelmingly approved. And our attorney is working with the Butler's attorney to finalize that. And Janet Blanchett is working on the bid documents for the construction, which I was hoping to have by now, because we had wanted to go out to publish to bid by the end of January. But at this point, I have to assume that's not going to happen. But I'll touch base with her soon. And that's it. Those are the big grants out there in the world of me.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, next is website notes, and I haven't done much on our website. I haven't caught anything that needs attention. Unless someone else has.
I did. If you go to the website, any of the phone numbers should be an active link, especially when you're doing it on your smartphone. But if you go down our web page on the website, you'll see the phone number listed there. But if you click it or try to click it, it doesn't go through. Whether it's on your smartphone or your computer, it doesn't go through. Email does on various pages,
Yeah.
but none of the phone numbers are linked in. And it's, I think, easy enough to do, but it's not there.
Yeah, I don't think there were ever hot links there for the phone.
Probably not. I never tried it until I tried to call Tira the other day. I was Red Squirrel. I was trying to reach Tira, and I pushed the button and it wouldn't go through. And of course, with your smartphone, you can't copy the number and then drop it into the search browser. It just brought me back to the number, town hall. So
I just went to it on my phone and it's working for me right now.
whoa, let me try it, because I just tried it on my laptop before I did send an email over but it was because of the holiday weekend. I sent an email over to Renee and said, hey, this isn't working.
Well, Renee and Marie and Bryce were doing something with the website today. I don't know if they were looking for efficiencies or whatever, but Renee and Marie are essentially the main admins. So yeah, if you notice anything glaringly in error like that, just let her know.
It said website notes, and let me try this. I believe you, Dan, but I just didn't see one. Okay, what else? We already know about the train wreck park. The Natchog Epic. Did you go back to that other meeting, Tara?
I
Well,
did.
We're not up to that yet, but
Oh,
yeah, we were just talking about
Yeah.
website notes, and then we move on to train wreck park progress, which Tira already talked about, the sale of the half acre and the grant stuff. So next up, number 4 is upcoming events, which I did list the Natchog Epic, March 24th.
Yeah, there was a con call, that Richard Fries, who is the guy from Domestique, that's his new company name for the race, had organized with, quite a few partners. They've got good, good pre-registration. They're expecting another successful event. I believe they have grown again. The purpose of that con call was actually more to look out into subsequent years. So I followed that up with a meeting at the Speedway with their site manager and the Connecticut what was it, Convention and Sports Bureau, which is a subset of Office of Tourism. I think everybody kind of wants to work together more. Then I had another call with a gentleman who works with Richard out in Western New York, who has organized a lot of races out there, just looking for more reach and partnership. And we had kicked some stuff around, including the possibility of them submitting to the next round of the ERT marketing grants, because they are thinking about doing it, doing something more promotional to build more year-round interest. So they were productive calls, but the race is kind of the race. They will come, they will race, they will spend a bunch of money in the region over 3 days. A lot of it will end up getting spent in Putnam because they're looking for, a place where they can hang and have an event. We've raised, I mentioned it at the TBA meeting last week, but the members who attend that are not, by and large, our hospitality folks. So it isn't necessarily reaching them, kind of like discussing the budget 2 days before it's due. The timing, it would have been better if they'd come with these requests 2 months ago, 3 months ago, so that it could get incorporated more into, planning for the TBA members. But whatever, it's a good event, and they're seeing continued success.
Couple of notes. Right here, I've got the town's webpage, and when I touch the phone number, nothing happens. So I don't know. This is an iPhone. It should work. Number two, the other aspect that Tara mentioned, these racers, they come in, they spend some money, and they go away. What Richard Fries was talking about was a lot of these people would pay to have their bicycle washed. And don't cheerleaders have a car wash kind of thing? So maybe we could get somebody from the high school to set up a bike wash. He said, expect tips. And he's right. I've watched people wash these bikes. I mean, these people pay $7,000 or $8,000 for a bicycle. They don't want to have it muddy for longer than they have to. Other things, he talked about a canteen. It was something like a welcoming thing. And I thought, one of the TBA members bakes cupcakes and things like that, but maybe they could bake muffins that would be more health food kind of stuff, or cookies that would be more healthy, and offer those at the, or maybe they could offer them at a discount price to the high school who would sell them before the event. I don't know. These are just brainstorming, but Richard seems to be trying to get us to think in terms not only of how we can tie our business and civic community into this to reap some benefit from it, but he's also looking at what kind of an event could we have on Saturday. This is all growing. He expects probably about 1,000 riders, as they'll put a cap on it because of the crowded conditions of the whole Northeast New England. 1,000 bike riders is a lot of bike riders and their support people. Hospitality, yeah, we got a lot of E&Bs. I don't know how many of them are members of TBA, but it can be a way to reach out to the B&Bs on behalf of TBA and say, did you know this? Because they don't all know it. I am a neighbor at the Lord Thompson Cottage House, and I spoke to their manager and said, if you don't have anything scheduled, for March 24th, you might want to let your boss know that this is an event that's growing. And there aren't a lot of weddings in late March. It's just, I see them. I see who comes in. I see when there's a lot of cars parked. Historically, it's not a very busy time for them. That's the kind of thing that I thought they were thinking of. And the tourism was looking at how they could tie it all in. And so maybe part of what our long-term goal or our goal for next year is a more active and perhaps more viable participation with tourism opportunities that benefit or could benefit the town. That's what I'm understanding about Natchog.
Dan, what did you decide about the February TBA meeting, which is supposed to be on Valentine's Day? I have to assume nobody's going to go to that.
I didn't decide. I thought I got that. I remembered that today, and I need to talk to Brian and Sandy and Jody, and we need to decide, should we move it? I mean, I don't know.
Well, I bring it up because if if you decide not to cancel it and move it, of course, depending on what day you move it to, I may or may not be available to join you, but I could certainly ask Richard if he would like to attend again. I mean, he sat in casually last year.
Mhm.
And, as I always say, repetition is retention. Maybe having him there making the suggestions and the asks again, here's some opportunities that could benefit your business. But obviously, you're not going to get anybody on February 14th. So I guess what I'm saying is if you decide to reschedule, let me know, because that's about a month out for him, a month and a half out for him. That
Okay.
might work out.
I would like to attend to take the opportunity to try to excite some of your other members to the opportunities here.
Oh, you want to come to the TBA meeting, you're saying, Charlie?
Sure.
Okay. All right. We'll figure that out tomorrow, I guess.
I can tell you that if you move it to the first Wednesday as opposed to the second Wednesday, I can be available to be there as well. Not that you need me, but I'm sort of the intermediary person who knows Richard.
Yeah. 6th. That would be March 6th if we decide to move it up a week, Dan.
March.
6th.
No, we're looking at February, not.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
It would be February 7th.
I'm looking at March because the Natchog Epic is in March, so sorry.
It would be 3 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, it would be the 7th instead of the 14th.
I think that's probably a good idea, Brian, because it's definitely not going to work out on the 14th.
I don't think so either. And if we waited till March 13th, it's 2.5 weeks before the Epic, but that's probably not enough time to do anything.
Right. I don't see why we can't make that decision right now, really. I mean, I could send an email to everybody else, and if somebody's opposed, we can pivot again tomorrow. But I think tentatively, for sure, right now, we can say it's on the 7th instead of the 14th.
What time?
5 p.m. at the library.
You just have to change our reservation
Yes.
at the community center.
People that are in this race, do they stop in Thompson for a length of time, like for restaurants and stuff?
Well, they start the race here. They start the race here in the early morning. Before 9 o'clock, there are groups leaving out, and they finish the race here. So it starts and stops at the Thompson Speedway, and they and all of their friends are coming into town. Whether they stay in town and spend money, largely up to how creative we can be.
Yeah, I think that's the point, Joanne. And the reason the Office of Tourism gets involved in the discussion is, the Office of Tourism is in the business of extending people's stays, right? So instead of just blowing in for the race and blowing out, making it a 3-day visit to the region. Um, we're challenged in that all of our nice accommodations are tied to wedding venues who are more or less operating seasonally, and haven't shown a whole lot of interest in opening for non-wedding related events, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't if they were approached correctly. But more to the point, I know, for example, one of the things we talked about on that con call was, they want to have like a bash, right? Either the Saturday after, what do they run on Sunday or do they run on Saturday? They run on,
the actual race on Sunday, but
they run the race on Sunday.
An
So, right.
additional event, an additional ride is starting on Saturday last year, it will be this year. Those are the kinds of events that we can learn more about and become more involved in.
Right. So what they've been talking about, Joanne, is having a social event the night before. Last year, I think they arranged with the Stomp to not exactly close it off to the public, but to be aware that they had a large party coming in. So,
Well, because I'm just trying to figure out, like, how can Frank's or Riverside or T-Hop or all these other little businesses, restaurants in town, how will they benefit if they're not even close to the Speedway?
Oh, among other things, there'll be a program and there'll be advanced registration and advertising opportunities that can alert out-of-town visitors that there are 6 or 7 B&Bs available. And maybe some of these others will open. I suggested to Ted Reynolds when he and I spoke about it that perhaps if Lord Thompson Manor said, we'll offer a package if you'll take all 3 days of the weekend. Because that's a shtick with the wedding party. If I was to get my daughter married there, I'd have to agree to take all the rooms. That's what their competition would be with the Natchog Epic as a newcomer. It helps that it's a slow time of the year for weddings, but whether Thompson Business Association can excite some of the other B&Bs to join them and join us, I don't know, but I'm willing to work towards it for a while.
Yeah, historically, Joe, our target has been the restaurants because that's pretty much what the businesses, any businesses that these people could use is the restaurants. We've asked them to come up with specials, in signs, anything to invite runners and bikers when they come in.
And this year we got a brewery that's probably pretty close to the route that they're taking.
Yeah, it's just we've never gotten a lot of takers on that.
Right. And the other thing to think of is not just the event, right? Because what the other interest that the Office of Tourism has for anything, and this is why they've been brought into the conversation, is not just the days you're already planning on being here, but the days you're planning on coming back. So, and just spitballing this, right? You make a valid point. How does it benefit the pizza places or Frank's if they're not on the race route on the day of the, but if there is a hospitality package of some kind that's put together, just given to these folks, encourage them to come back, include the Z maps, include some offers from folks in Putnam, that becomes a welcoming incentive to come back and just ride the roads, not when they're racing.
Right.
Richard seems to feel, and I take his word for it because that's his niche, that the riding in this region is excellent. And we talk about location, relatively accessible compared to similarly diverse routes, similar sort of rural scenic landscapes. He makes the comparison to up in Vermont. Vermont's 5 hours away from
And
Boston.
that quote is like Vermont, only closer.
Right.
I got a money project for next year.
Email
We
it.
could make our own Z map of bike routes in Thompson to hand out at that and other events. Because we got a lot of great roads. As she said, Richard's a world-class rider, and he's putting on these events now, and he considers this to be among the best opportunities for bike riding in the Northeast.
I think there's some potential there, Charlie. Do me a favor, just shoot me an email so that I have that in front of me when Brian comes in to talk to me tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, have we beaten the Natchog epic to death?
I think so. More to come. Okay, now, marketing revitalization of downtown core, and that's where the RFP comes in. First, the next public workshop for that is coming up, what, the 24th?
Huh?
The next public workshop for 65 Main.
Yeah, it's the 24th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was already skipped in my head to the RFP. You were freaking me out. Yes, the
Sorry.
24th.
I just figured I'd throw that out there and then we can concentrate on the RFP, that's all.
Yeah, no, you were absolutely right. I just, because I was looking for my screen share. Oh, it's not the right one. That's the agenda. There we go. Screen share. So let's just look at this. I mean, I actually think this is probably close to what we want. But
Yeah,
let's take a minute while we're here and make sure, because I can make any changes right now.
Let me ask,
Changing-
what were you
Sarah.
saying, Joe? Go ahead.
Sarah,
Yep.
hello?
I got you.
Hi, page 2 of the proposal submission, just changed the date.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's highlighted there, because this is an old one. And I need to
Okay,
figure it.
got that, okay.
Yeah, I just need to figure out the timeline. So that's exactly why it's highlighted, Joanne.
Gotcha. Okay.
Is it normal to ask that they provide resumes for each individual that's involved?
We have done that. I think we did that. This was essentially adapted from the Sullivan and Lashane. We don't need to. I don't.
Yeah, that seems kind of pompous, don't you think?
Well,
Maybe
I've been
pompous
accused
is
of
not the
being
right
pompous
word.
before. That's
Well,
fine. I
it
can take
sounds
it
like-
out.
Not that it matters, but
Yeah, and I mean, the next bullet where describing the role of each team member makes sense, because if we have specific questions or need specific updates, we might know who to go to. I mean, I like the way it was written. I didn't see a lot that I would change.
Mostly what I
Very-
want to know is
very-
if we're missing anything.
oh God, no. I thought I thought it was so inclusive that I
Yeah.
I agree with Brian, about some of the asking for resumes and stuff, but if that's what you're supposed to do, oh well.
Well, yeah, that's why I asked if it's customary to do that, because I don't know. I don't see that we need that, but
Do you think we would eliminate some people who would be interested because of the amount of the extensivity that we're asking, or if this is common and normal, I guess, then leave it be.
I mean, I would say any reputable marketing firm is going to be prepared to do these things.
Okay.
Maybe somewhat less an individual, but I would say that an individual who is doing this for a living should also be prepared to provide a resume and a
Okay.
proposal.
Yeah,
I don't think it's too often, so.
Yeah, I
like
mean,
Denver.
obviously, we're gonna send it back to Sullivan and Lashane and Quinn and Harry, who are the two larger firms we've already worked with. But I would send this to Ally and Jody, to give them a crack at it. I mean, I will say that most of the time, the smaller firms that we've received proposals from, we've bypassed for one reason or another. Not for not liking them or but they just haven't quite grasped what we were pushing. But if, like, I'm looking at this and just knowing those two TBA members in particular, I don't necessarily see either one of them being able to do it alone, but if they did it in partnership, I would accept that proposal from them. I'd love to be able to keep it local and get the quality that we want. And I want to hear what people describe. I mean, we're gonna advertise it, right? We're gonna put it on the website. We're gonna put it on the state site. And accept. Generally, I would leave these open for a month. Since we're in the middle of the month and I'd be publishing this. I mean, do you want me, that goes back to your original, Joanne, about changing the dates. Do we want to be reviewing these things in the February meeting? Or do we want to be reviewing them in March, proposals? 'Cause
March.
that's-
Oh. Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, I mean, the sooner you get them out, the sooner we get them back. How much time do you normally give them?
I usually leave them open
month.
for a month.
A month, okay.
Tara, this kind of falls in line of the email I sent you already on like top 3 items. One was kind of developing and using technologies.
Mhm.
And my comment to this is, this can get pretty robust with these marketing people. And robust meaning that it's going to get expensive. Do we want to like solicit, like say, hey, also when you're doing this analysis, provide, 2 types of proposals to us. One a little bit slimmer and cost effective, and then the second one being a little bit more fat and robust. Just so we
Well,
can...
I will tell you, Brian, that what I considered was actually informing them off the bat that proposals are not to exceed $10,000, because that is our limit. There's no money over
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, okay.
Then yes, I think you should put that in there. Because I thought the same thing too about what kind of prices will we get from all of these qualifications that we're looking for. What if we had somebody $20,000 and $30,000? I like your idea of putting a ceiling in there.
Yeah, but I also like knowing what we could get if we went a little further, I guess is my point. I don't mind being like cost effective,
between
but
a Ford and a Cadillac, right?
yeah, I think we need to have backup for the finance department and others about what we could do if we had an appropriate budget, not always work in this world of rubbing pennies together. So that's just my thought process.
So that brings up an interesting idea, Brian, as well, or Santos. We're on last names only, of course. Which is, if I leave out the bid ceiling, and let's say we get one that's $20,000 or $30,000, but they followed the instructions, they've broken it out. That could then, and I think this is where you were going,
That could apply to next year.
Next year's budget.
Correct. I wouldn't mind
Right.
putting a ceiling on phase 1. Tell me what you can give me for 10 grand, but then also tell me what I could get between 10 and 30 grand. I don't know. I'm spitballing here to prepare for other things. That's what I'm trying to accomplish here.
That's a lot of money.
I think
we're never going to pay somebody that kind of money.
Wait a minute, I think
20,
he's,
30.
if I can extrapolate this, I think what Brian is saying is essentially what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
One of
that's
the
what
4
Tira said,
things that
Joe.
we would do if we had the money.
That's what
How
Tira
do we
just
go
said.
about getting that vision out? So maybe it's not 4 things, Brian Santos. I like your idea though. If we think in terms, this is what we know we can do, But if we could, this is what we would do. I think that's what we should present to the Board of Finance. Perhaps
because right-
this document that we're looking at on the screen can be used in rough draft form to educate the Board of Finance.
I'm just looking to try to get as much data as possible with visual explanations about what we could do to pass those down the line and be like, these are what we could be doing, and these are the ranges. Because
So
right
do
now
you
we don't have any of that data.
You think this solves the dilemma of whether to put the cap in, B? Just in the scope of work, you know, produce a final template for the campaign for all forms of media, all relevant. Produce a final template for the campaign for all relevant forms of media, incorporating Thompson's brand and a robust and detailed plan for short-term and long-term implementation. The final product shall include clear recommended action items for committee follow-up, committee and staff. Follow-up with cost estimates for implementation, because then we don't really have to worry about whether it's strictly speaking a part of this bid, but it sets us up for the next phase.
I'm not going to be able to answer. I haven't read this entire document, so I'm not sure. I guess is my answer right now. T, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think that might solve it, but
Yeah, I mean, as far as the putting the money aside part, that does. I think do what we're thinking.
okay. Does anybody else have anything they want me to add or subtract or change in this RFP? Who has had the time to look at it?
Was that in the email that you referenced earlier?
Well, I sent it
outline?
this afternoon. Yeah.
Okay, I haven't looked at it yet, but
Well, I'm
Looks good, Tara.
Yeah, I did read the whole thing too.
I mean, it's only 2 pages. It's short and sweet, but okay. So if anybody does kind of like with the ideas for the budget, if any light bulbs go off in your head between now and tomorrow afternoon, just email it to me and I will try to have this ready to go for Marie to post on Monday. Amy, are you still on?
Lost her at Natchog Epic.
Yeah, no,
She-
I'm
she's
still
there.
on. I'm on my iPad and I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself.
Okay, so just a question here, the threshold, and this is one of the reasons we keep to $10,000. The threshold is
Mhm.
$10,000, right? For it not having to go through the Board of Selectmen. Is that correct?
You mean for going out to bid?
Right.
Yes, it's 9,999. So
So
bid
that would be
policy
the,
is 10,000.
okay, so that would be the only reason I actually might go back to putting bids are not to exceed 10,000, because then I can skip a couple of things. I can skip the sealed bids. We can just take them via email.
Right.
But if we're gonna go to sealed, if we're gonna accept bids over 10,000, we've got to go to sealed bid.
Correct.
So that is another decision that we have to make, guys.
I got a couple of quick questions. I hope they're quick. 10,000 is a ceiling. If we have a project that
Well-
costs less than $10,000, we don't have to go through as much red tape. But did I understand that we're going to ask people to try to compartmentalize and show us how much things would cost?
Yeah, that's
In
up,
fact-
cost breakouts shown for each discrete item.
Okay, so back to Brian Santos's comments and the earlier comments. If the brainstorm pops something into our mind, we list it specifically. I believe if we show that to the not only to the potential contractors, but to the Board of Finance, we can begin to get some real clarity to what we want to accomplish. And I think that that's got to make our case easier to sell. So the only issue is, what do we want to do? And
I
gave
feel
you
like
an idea.
I feel like this document is fine too. If you want to keep it at the 99.9 just to have the flexibility of not going to a closed bid and then just having general discussions with whomever submits and then expand from there, so be it. I think the document reads good enough to be able to accomplish gathering a menu of prices later down the road if we want to, or
Okay.
for whatever they don't submit.
Yeah, I want to make this process easy. Right, I just want to keep it
It's
within the
fine.
commission, within my office,
Yep, I understand your tactic. It's fine.
right?
I think the
right,
way your budget and what you just added will allow for that menu of options later. That's fine.
Yeah, because, and I'll tell you the other reason why I'm leaning towards doing the 9999 cap is, again, these bids are going to be coming in during budget season when people are going to be wicked tense. You know, it is a new Board of Finance. We have a Board of Selectmen that's working together very well right now, but that doesn't mean that we aren't going to be queued up for the same kinds of knife fights that accompany everything. And I think if we can just take care of this all in the commission, then you guys don't become vulnerable. What are they wasting our money on? What a blah, 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 you know, I don't feel like you guys should have to go through that.
Yep. This stuff, if you can, for me tomorrow, I wrote down 3 items in my email to you. Just maybe peruse those items and try to incorporate them within this scope of worksheet somewhere. Just take a
Yep.
look at that.
Yep. This is auto saving, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop share. I think I'm auto saving. Okay, I think we're good. I can work with that. Is this auto saving or not? It seems to be. Yes. Okay. Okay. I'm all good, guys.
Okay, the final thing, we get to comments by commission members / next agenda. And it has come to our attention that the June meeting is now holiday. It's Juneteenth. And it was just put out to the boards if they wanted to change the meeting day, because some people may have the day off, maybe away, or for whatever reason wouldn't attend a meeting. Nothing we have to decide now, but I figured I would at least bring up the topic.
Does Tara get the day off as regularly employee? of the town hall?
Yes, Terry gets the day off.
And I think we need to find a different one.
What party at Tara's for Juneteenth party?
Hey, if you guys want, I can at least, if you haven't looked at them yet, I can share the master plans while we're here.
At that time. I don't have anything. I covered everything.
Oh, no, the
Hold on.
file's too big. The file's too big. It won't let me open it here. That doesn't make any
Hmm.
sense, though. Why won't it? I was trying to print
See
these.
you
to
guys
them.
next Wednesday night, right?
What?
See you at the meeting next. That's my comment. We'll see you next week at the meeting at 65 Main, next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
All
yes,
righty.
Joanne.
Well, that's my comment as a member.
Okay. Well, do we have any more comments? Are we ready to adjourn?
Wait a minute, what time is that meeting next Wednesday? I don't have it on my calendar.
6 o'clock.
Just wanted to announce to everyone that, we're moving forward with the track project up at the school.
Okay,
I'm super excited about it. The contractor is excellent. It's going to be doing the work. And hopefully maintain schedule and we start in May. So I'm super excited about this one to tell everybody.
I'm gonna,
Yeah, we didn't get the final word back yet, though, from Hoween, right? I mean, she said more or less go ahead, but
Yeah, I think her email said you're all set, not to worry, or something along those lines. So I'm moving forward.
yeah, I'm not worried at this point. Okie dokie. I think are we all wrapped, Mr. Chairman?
as far, yeah, the next meeting will be, the next regular meeting will be February 21st. And we'll see you if you're planning to come to the planning meeting next Wednesday. And yeah, I'm set to adjourn at 8:01 if we're good.
good night, everybody.
Night.
Yeah.
Night.